Hi. So, in this lecture, we will talk about the condition monitoring. As its name suggests, that condition monitoring is about something which we need to monitor continuously. And when we say monitoring, it means it is a periodic job. So, it is a kind of scheduled maintenance. So, we can say condition monitoring is a scheduled maintenance job which you need to perform at particular period of interval. Now, how this condition monitoring can be done? So see in SAP PM, we have a two approach to monitor the condition of a machine. The first approach, we can take a help of preventive maintenance because preventive maintenance is also scheduled based maintenance where we can fix up a schedules and after every schedule system can generate a preventive order and we can record our observation in the order. Another approach which is very commonly used for condition monitoring is with the help of measuring point and measuring document, right? So in this lecture, we will see how we can use the measuring point and measuring document in condition monitoring. And also the measuring point and measuring documents are very commonly used for one concept in maintenance, which is called checklist. Generally, every technician will have a one checklist to monitor. When uh, when you start your work in the morning, so first of all, you will check your machine. That checking involves the checklist. So in checklist, you will have a multiple points like oil leakage, you'll have a temperature, you'll have a cleanliness, then you can check electrical connections, right? You can check locking. So it is also measuring point can also be used to generate one checklist. Okay, so first of all, we will see how the condition monitoring help us in monitoring our equipment so that we can act without any background breakdown. So for that purpose, let us first create one measuring point. Now see, for measuring point creation, we use transaction IK01 here. This is a measuring point object. Like we saw initially the technical object. In a similar way, you can create measuring point for different object. Here you can see we have an object called building, which is used in plant project system module, PS module. We also have a equipment here. We also have a functional location or rental unit. So as far as PM is considered, equipment is an option for us. Then we need to enter a equipment number. Okay, so I'm putting equipment number. Then maintenance, for maintenance purpose, we have to enter some category. Now, there are primarily two category used in PM. First is measuring point linear. Second is measuring point general. In linear, we know that in linear, you'll have a linear scale to measure something. Okay. However, in measuring point general, you go by either counter based reading or you can go by simply a reading. Now measuring position. Measuring position is a position on which on where you want to check this or you want to take the measurement. Okay, so I'm putting measuring position as a pump area 1. and description. Measuring position is a free field and description is also. So I'm writing pumping area. Okay. Now we are talking about the measurement. So measurement of what? Measurement of a, either you can measure a characteristic of product or a machine, like you can measure temperature, you can measure vibration, you can measure pressure, as well as this measuring point concept can only be used in other modules also. Okay, so you can use length, you can use any parameter. Okay, so for that purpose, first of all, we have to create one characteristic. So in previous sessions, we already seen that how we can create characteristic with the help of CT04 transaction. So I'm not repeating that. I'm using any previously created characteristic. So see, I have used one characteristic called temperature. It means what I want to monitor here, I want to monitor the temperature of a pumping area. So I'm changing this one. I'm changing bearing temperature because the temperature affect bearing life. Okay, if your temperature of the outer ring of bearing is very high, then you can say this bearing is this bearing health is deteriorated and soon you can have some breakdown due to this bearing. So that's why we want to monitor the bearing temperature, and it is a very common practice in industry to measure a bearing temperature as well as the vibration of a bearing, because by monitoring the temperature and vibration you can predict about the future breakdown. Okay, so here the decimal places, here I considered a degree centigrade as a degree Celsius as a unit of measurement for temperature. We can consider decimal places, right? Now you can see here we have one option called measurement point is a counter. Now it is not necessary to option this. See, sometime what happens when you are measuring something, it is in counter or it is in cyclic in nature. Okay. So for that purpose, you need to select a counter. Okay. Suppose you fix up a counter. I'm taking another example of, let's say, some rotating machine or compressor. In that compressor, you decided that you will go for overhauling after every 1,000 hour. Okay. So it means you have given one counter. Once 1,000 hour is over, you have done the overhauling. After that, you will again start counting from 1. It means you can use this counter multiple time. Okay, so if you have any this type of situation where you are measuring something as a in some cyclic nature, or you want to put some counter, then it is necessary to select this measurement point is a counter option. In this particular case, when I'm going to measure the temperature, it is not a counter because I'll continuously measure the temperature. Okay, and I'll record the observations. When I'll find that observation is not correct, I'll take the corrective action. Right? That was about the measurement. Now I want to highlight one more thing here. Sometimes what happens when we check the machine health, it is not always it is not possible that we are going to measure something. Sometime in case of temperature, simply by touching, you'll place your hand over the machine and you'll say, okay, it is okay. Or you'll say it is more heated. Okay. It means there are two things. One, you can measure something into quantity. Quantity means measurable unit, numeric one, or second option in a qualitative, which is a subjective. Like machine is running, okay, not okay. Second, temperature, low, high, moderate. Okay. Here I'm not measuring anything directly. I'm not putting that my measurement temperature is 10 degree, 20 degree. Okay. I'm just considering the subjective one. The subjective one is very common for a checklist. When you go, suppose you are taking a round of your shop floor And in your checklist, there is one point written as a oil leakage. Okay. So there you are not going to check the amount of oil leakage. You'll simply say oil leakage, yes or no. Correct? It means sometime your observation can be subjective too. So for all this of subjective observation, we have a one option called valuation code sufficient. Valuation code sufficient means I'll select something from drop down and that would be sufficient. I'm not going to enter any value. Okay. So suppose if you are monitoring any computer monitor, okay. So you can select this option. No image on LED, no screen LED illuminated, image too big or too small, image not centered, image is distorted, colors are unnatural, because you cannot monitor or you cannot measure the image quality. So you can go by this observation. Okay. So here in measuring point, you have both the option. Either you want to put any reading, you can record that reading here, or you can go by the valuation code. So first of all, let me do one thing. Let me quickly save this measuring point. In a second measuring point, we will see how this valuation code is can be used. So I'm saving this measuring point. Okay, this is my measuring point. Now this measuring point is not self-sufficient. Now you have created a measuring point. Now with the help of this measuring point, we need to record our observation. Okay, so for that purpose, we use one transaction which is called IK11 measuring document creation. Okay, this measuring document is a transaction document which will record your every transaction whenever you are recording or entering any detail against the same measuring point. So I'm capturing this detail. See here, you can enter measuring point, measuring time, at what time and date you have measured this record, and read by who has recorded this transaction. So let's say I'm putting technician. Now see here, simply as I told you that initially we will simply record the value in terms of numbers. So I'm putting my bearing temperature because I have checked my bearing temperature with the help of thermometer. So I'm putting my value as a 55. This is 55 degrees centigrade. Okay, you can later, if you want to add any further comment, so you can add any comment here. This was a 55 for what time and date? Let me put this date. For 15 April, I have recorded this temperature. Again, on the next day, that is 16th, see, it is blank. It is not counter because I'm continuously using this. If it is the counter, then system won't ask me to enter the measuring reading. Even for counter, system shall ask me to enter the difference. That we will see. So next day, I found a temperature is 60 degrees. Okay. So in this way, you can record the temperature. Now, I'll create another measuring point where we will use how this valuation code sufficient, subjective one, okay, not okay, yes, no, low, high, medium can be used. Okay. So measuring point, same area, bearing temperature, same, characteristic is also same. But here I'm saying that valuation code is sufficient, means I'm going to use this for a subjective knowledge. Now, let us create a few code group. So for any code group creation, we use transaction called QS41. Under this QS41 transaction, you have a one catalog. catalog is a kind of grouping. Okay, because see, as you know that SAP is an integrated software, so most of the time you'll have a concept which will overlap in other modules, right? So this catalog is also a concept which is used in QM module also and any other modules also. So first of all, you have to select what type. For PM perspective, we consider defect type. Okay. Reason is this. At the time of operation confirmation, we have seen in preventive maintenance, we have done some operation confirmation. So at the time of operation confirmation, if you want to record any defect, okay, let's say shaft is broken, impeller was bent, okay, then you can create some code group for that defect, and at the time of operation confirmation, you can record that defect directly also. So you have both the ways. If you have a complete listing of all the type of defect, you can go by code group. If you don't have, you can go by text based. See, for code group purpose, it is very easy to retrieve the information because there won't be any spelling mistake or something like that. Okay. So currently we are talking about this code group. So see, I'm creating another code group called temp temperature monitoring. I'm considering status as a released. Okay. Now under this code group, what would be the codes? Okay. So I'm putting low. I'm putting for low temperature. Let me take in this way: low, medium, high. I'm writing in respect to the temperature. Very high, immediate stop. Okay. And what is the defect class? Okay. Now you can select what type of defect it is, major or it is major defect or minor defect. So I'm simply putting critical defect. And I saved it. Okay. Now this defect type temperature we can enter here in our measuring point. This is our measuring point screen. I said valuation code is self-sufficient. When I selected valuation code is self-sufficient, see, it is asking me to enter a code group. So I'll select the code group as a TM, what I created here. Okay, I need to go back and I need to create again to refresh my screen. No issue. I'll create again. I think I created a different category. I created a damage. I need to create in a different group. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I am going to create now this in under the catalog group A. That is a mistake I created under the defect type. It should be under the catalog group A. Yeah. Low, medium, high, very high, immediate stop. Now this will be available because I created a different way. It should be created for catalog. That's have selected the temperature monitoring as a code group. However, that under the option under the temperature monitoring group, low, medium, high, very high, can be selected at the time of measuring document creation. So for other measuring point 11960, I am creating a measuring document IK11. Okay. The same thing, measuring time, measuring date, read by. Now see, we have a both option. If you want to record any value, you are allowed it to enter. Okay. There it is, system is not going to stop you. But if you don't want to enter any value, then you can directly select here valuation code. Let's say I have monitored the bearing temperature and I said it is medium. And I'm saving this. That's it. Okay. Second time when you go, you can choose immediate stop. If you say immediate stop, then you can generate one notification, and further on, with reference to notification, you can create a maintenance order. You can perform the maintenance task. So there are two options. You can record value as well as you can record with the help of this valuation code, okay, which is subjective in nature. Now, where you will get this complete list of this measuring, because continuously you are recording, but somebody has to monitor it. No? Then only you'll have a option to know. So let's check the reporting part for this. So here, when you go for a display mode of a measuring document in IK13, you can choose all measuring point. So if you have a measuring point, so you can enter a measuring point, or you can put date. So I'm putting date, and I want to have a list of all measuring point C. So what it is showing me, it is showing me that for during this period, I have recorded these many values, right? These are a few previous records. I have created these many values. If you remember, we have recorded a temperature at 60 and 55 degree. Okay. So in this way, somebody can monitor this. Okay. Here you can, there are many things which you can add. See here, for this last two document, we have used code group, the main subjective one. Under the temperature, we have selected IS, immediate stop, and ME medium. So daily, I mean, this is a job of a supervisor or in charge. However, the entering or recording the result is a job of your shop floor feeder technicians, right? So in this way, you can do. There is another way to do this, because see, if you have a 200 measuring points, so it will be very difficult to remember all them and to simply enter the detail one by one. So for that purpose, we have one facility which is called as a entry list, where we can create a one complete list of all type of identical measuring point. Okay, so it is a grouping of measuring point to make your entry easy. So I'm putting a measuring point for temperature monitoring. This is my entry list number, and see here you can have a measuring point. So let me just 11957. Okay. We have already created another measuring point. Okay, we need to search it. This was equipment. So let us search by equipment. See, I'm going in IK31 itself. I'm searching the equipment. First, I try to search the measuring point. So I don't have measuring point. So I want to search measuring point with the help of equipment. So now I'm searching equipment. Once I'll get the equipment, I'll enter those equipment into our maintenance plant is PM01. So I guess this is equipment. Okay. Okay. Let's do one thing. Let's search by date created on because we have created today. So see, it is showing us two measuring point which we have created today. Okay. So we can create a list of all measuring point. The way I'm creating list of two measuring point. Okay. It means I'm making a grouping of a identical type of measuring point. Let's say, if you remember, I gave you example of a checklist here, where you have a one checklist: oil leakage, temperature, cleaning, electrical condition, locking. So what you can do, you can create quickly, you can create a measuring point for let's say I'm under the pumping area, I want to check oil leakage. For this, there will be different characteristic, okay, that we can create. So currently I'm simply using the same one. Okay. Here you can use different, like here I'm taking for oil users, I'm taking okay, not okay. So you can, in a similar way, you can take another option. Okay. So under my entry list, I'm putting another measuring point. So this is a group. So it will make my job easy. So entry list 128 created. Okay. Now see, in this entry list 128, I want to enter the collective measuring document. When we initially, when we recorded the measurement value, so we created one document, but we have created that document single by IK11. Now, in this, what we have done, we have created one entry list with the help of IK31, a group of all measuring point. And now I'm going to enter this results in this entry list. So you can see I have a complete list. This list I have. It means there is no need to enter the measuring document detail individual. Okay. You can choose from here. See currently what message it is giving me: evaluation not possible, because in this measuring point valuation is not required. We have to enter the value. So I'm putting 70, 40 degree. Here temperature, this is related to temperature, so I'm putting medium temperature. And third one, this is related to oil leakage. So I can select okay, means no oil leakage. So this will be a complete checklist for a maintenance person. They can create the complete checklist in the same way, and then they can save in a one go. So this is about the condition monitoring in the plant maintenance.